What's going on? What's going on? What is going on? Hey, it's your boy Nori, the host of the Gliding on Tools YouTube channel. And what I have for you today is a front suspension fork rebuild. And I'm going with none other than Suspension Technologies and their RT series front shocks. So let me move over to the table and I'm going to show you the suspension and the tools that are required to do this job. All right, as you can see here are the Suspension Technologies RT Series shocks. You have your cartridge and your tube right here with the springs. All right, right and left. It comes with, of course, fork oil, one canister for each fork. No measurement needed. Is exactly what the volume is exactly what you need. Also, of course, your damper cone and damper springs as well. All right. And then what we have on this other side, I went ahead and purchased the fork rebuild kit. Not totally necessary, but for me, I always like to change out bare minimum the fork seal and the copper washer for the screw that holds the damper rod in the forks. All right. So, but I'm going to go ahead and change the entire thing. All right. I also have a set of tools here. I got my 1/2-inch ratchet, 3/8 ratchet, extension, 10 millimeter, 12-point socket for your brake caliper mounting bolts. I have here your 1/4-inch hex here, Allen key socket for your fork pinch bolts and your fender. All right, 6 millimeter hex socket here for your this will be for your fork pinch axle pinch bolt. 12 millimeter to remove the damper rod screw. You also have your fork cap socket right here, hex socket. Size will be let me see if I read this right. It's 19 millimeter. And then, of course, the socket for your axle nut. All right. I also have 2 crown roll bags here, so that way I can put the brake calipers into. And then we'll go ahead and get this started. All right. I'm going to start by removing the calipers from each side of the wheel, both calipers right here on the mounting bolts. Like I said earlier, they take a 10 millimeter 12-point socket to remove them. Then I'm going to put them inside the bags, hang them over here, the crash bars, and then next step will be removing my front wheel fender, which of course there's 4 bolts on each, 2 bolts on each side. Those take a 1/4-inch hex socket or hex Allen key, if you will. Once I remove that, I will loosen the axle nut while the wheel is down, all right? And then I'll jack it up, take the axle off, and remove the wheel, so that way I can go ahead, loosen up the pinch bolts, and start taking off the forks. pinch bolt loose, you got the bike jacked up, you can start taking off your axle. All right, it comes off by way of the right side of the bike. But remember to hold on to your wheel and be careful and look at your spacers. If you're not used to doing this if this is your first time doing it, make sure that you remember the orientation of your spacers. Alright, I'm going to try to get in here as best as possible to show you the pinch bolts, but hopefully you can see this. So, down here, this is your bottom triple tree, okay? And you're going to see 2 pinch bolts down here, alright? What I'll do is loosen both of these pinch bolts before I loosen the top one, alright? Once those are loosened, I get up and the top one is right up here. Now, if you don't have the proper tools, all right, you might have to disassemble, all right, your entire gauge cluster up here, all right, to get to the top pinch bolt. But if you have the right tools, you can go ahead, because the top pinch bolt is just under this ignition switch housing, all right, and you can get in there and loosen that up. Now, like I said, if this is your first time doing this and you're not used to doing it, all right, there are measurements to put your when it comes time to replace your forks back in here, so that way you can make sure they're properly installed. What I do is I mark with a marker. I mark the fork tube on the back side to where it's even with the triple tree, okay? And do the same thing on both sides and on the top triple tree, so that way when it comes time to reinstall, I just push up the fork tubes onto that marker and start pinching it off so it doesn't collapse or fall back down. So let's get to this. We're going to remove this right side first. Alrighty, just like that, the right fork is completely off of the bike, and I'm getting ready to do the complete change on it. And like I said, I think I forgot to hit the record button when I was taking loosening the 3 pinch bolts for this side. But like I said, there's 1 pinch bolt on the top tree, 2 pinch bolts on the bottom. Now you can loosen them however you want. Oh, you know what I'm saying? I recommend do the top one, then do both of the bottom ones, because you're gonna need a spare hand to hold on to your slider here. All right, so when you finally loosen that 3rd bolt, it doesn't come straight out and hit the ground. Keep a hold of your actual slider, your fork here, so that way when you finally, like I said, finally loosen that 3rd one, you got it in here. And I'm looking at it in here, and I don't know if you'll be able to tell right in here, but there is tremendous amounts of gunk in there. Now, of course, my bike is a 22 Road Glide ST. I've never taken the forks apart, and this is the first time for this bike taking the forks apart just to change out the suspension. But after 21,000 and some change miles, I'm not even sure how much I got there. I know I'm over 20,000. That is a lot of gunk in here, all right? So it was about time to do a complete rebuild anyway, so this is perfect timing. All right, I'm gonna show you the disassembly portion, hopefully, and let's keep going. All right, time to take off the fork cap here. I got my wrench here, my ratchet, 19 millimeter, all right, hex, to fit inside of the fork cap. All right. Now, when you start loosening this, make sure you put a good amount of pressure on your fork cap. All right, because if you don't and you start loosening this and you're holding this down, the spring, all that tension is going to pop straight out. All right, so another tip is do not put your face directly above the fork cap. All right, keep your face away from the fork cap. I've seen people come here, loosen it up, they have their face down right smack in the middle, and they're bent over trying to get it, and all you're going to do is cause damage to your face. This thing will kick up. You're going to hit yourself with your wrench. All right, So keep your face away from it. If you had a fork vise, you could put it on a fork vise. It's totally not necessary. Just hold it and, you know, start getting it released. All right. So let me show you that part. All right, tremendous amounts of pressure. All right, and keep your face off of it. Now, if you have the tools, once you got it broken loose, like right there, I got it broken loose. Go ahead and put your tool on there. Go ahead and make your life a whole lot easier. All right. But remember to keep your pressure on it. Keep your fingers away, the whole nine. All right. All right, got it all. Now let me show you the internals. All right, the first thing that comes out is your sleeve. All right, this is what adds more pressure to that spring. All right, your sleeve comes out. Your washer that's right below it. All right, and then as I pull this out, we're gonna have a lot of oil on it. So what I like to do is kind of hold it and clean this oil off as much as I can while I'm pulling this out. All right, a lot of oil in there. All right, there goes your spring. All right, now I can start dumping out this oil. I'm gonna not show that because, I mean, y'all don't need to see it. All right, I'm gonna start dumping the oil out and then taking the rest of the stuff apart. Be back in a second. As you dumping this oil out, all right, you want to go ahead and pump your fork so you get all the oil off of there, out of there. And this oil, after over 20,000 miles, looked, whoo, it looked suspect. How about that? It was dirty. Harley recommends doing a fork rebuild every 50,000 miles. I recommend doing that sooner. As you can tell, this thing looks nasty. So if you do it every 25,000 miles, I think that'll be all right. All right, seems like I got all the oil out of there. All right, so what I need to do now, all right, you gotta remember, I did not take off the damper rod screw yet. I took out some of them parts, so now I'm gonna take out the damper rod screw. Now, in order for the damper rod not to turn while I'm trying to take this off, I'm gonna put the spring back in there with the sleeve, put pressure in there, so that way I can loosen up that damper rod screw. All right, so let's get to it. All right, like I said, removing the damper rod screw. Now, one of the best ways to do this, you can do this multiple ways. Okay, first off, you could actually remove this piece while it's still installed on the motorcycle and drain it that way if you want to. I chose not to do it that way. I chose to drain it up top first and get that fork cap off. All right, but if you do it the way I'm showing you now, what you'll do is once you drain it, all right, you'll put your spring back in there, you put your fork cap back on, all right, so you can apply pressure to it, all right? And then if you want to, you can hold it down on the table here, put it on a vise, or better yet, put it upside down and put pressure on it so you can release it, all right? So basically that's what I did. I held it here and took it off, and that's what I'm doing now, is removing the screw. Right there, all right? Remove the screw, and you also have a crush washer, copper washer, that's in there, and you will go ahead and pull that out as well, all right? I'm gonna go ahead and let's see here. Usually I get a pick, but let's see if it comes out easy here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, I got it. All right, you can see that. Hopefully you can see that that copper washer. All right. Every time you do this, replace this copper washer. All right. You go ahead and replace that. Now I can go ahead and take the damper rod out of there, and I'll show you that and the rest of the steps here in a moment. Let me get the rest of this back on. So I'm gonna take out the fork tube. I'm gonna disassemble the fork tube from the slider, the lower half. All right, I've already removed it, but I'm gonna show you. The first thing is you gotta pry out of here is the circlip, retaining clip, whatever you want to call it. This is a clip, all right? That comes off first, all right? Your next step is you have to pump your fork tube and slider probably a couple times away from each other before it breaks loose, all right? I already broke it loose. It comes out loose, all right? The next thing that comes out of there is your fork seal. As you can see, all right, if this is directional, all right, same way you take it off, same way you put it back on, the little slit in between, that goes in towards the bottom, all right? The next thing that comes off from there will be your washer, all right? That comes off from there next, and then you can disassemble the whole thing. Now, I'm going to replace top bushing and the inner bushing, all right? Outer bushing, top bushing. I don't know how well you can see that, but I'm going to replace those as well since I'm already in here, all right? And the last thing that comes out of here is your cone for your damper rod, all right? That's the last thing that comes out, and now you have a complete disassembled front fork. Let me show you all the pieces one more time. All right, so as you can see, all the pieces one more time. I've already showed you the top row: fork cap, sleeve, washer, spring, damper rod with the damper spring. All right, your copper washer, your damper rod screw. Then when it comes time to the internals, you have your clip comes out first. Break apart your tube from your slider. Then you can take off your fork seal, the washer for it. All right, now you got fork tube with the inner and outer bushings. The outer and inner bushings right here. All right, you have your slider and your damper rod cone. All right, and now you have a completely disassembled front fork tube. All right, now it's going to be time to put all this back together with the Suspension Technologies suspension that I have right up here. Look how nice they are. Like I said, look how nice they are. All right, like I showed you, here goes Suspension Technologies cartridge suspension here. All right, everything is one piece, as you can see. All right, one piece with the exception of your lower spring and your damper rod cone. All right, so I'm going to show you how to put this on, and it's just too simple. All right, get your spring, put it on your damper rod there. Now you feed the whole system through. All right, once it's on the other end, you got your cone. Put your cone on in. and now you're going to drop it into place. Ensuring that it's at the bottom, all right? Go ahead and get your copper washer and your damper rod screw, all right? Now you're gonna go ahead and just kind of make sure you put it in place. All right, it's in there, but of course I didn't torque it just yet. I gotta put the rest of these pieces in here, so that way we're good to go. All right, get my washer. Make sure you put this correctly in, all right? Your new one will have dimples on the top. That's to show you basically, that's the way I look at it, to show you if you remember to put this in correctly. Slide that down. All right. Now, if you don't have I call it the pounder, but it's the fork seal driver, okay? Then a PVC pipe in the same diameter as your seal will work. I do have a fork seal driver. I'm gonna take it out of my toolbox and just start pounding this down so that way it can seat properly and put my circ clip in there. So I'll be right back after that. All right, after you pound in after you drive in your fork seal, all right, you will hear the different tones, all right? When you're hammering that thing in, once you hear that different sound tone, all right, that tells you it's seated properly. You got it far enough down, all right? Then I already put the circ clip, I already put the retaining clip in there, but your retaining clip, once you put it in there, all right, you might just need a little pick or whatnot. Put it in there, and there is a seal around your slider, or I should say a groove that clip falls into. All right, you put it in on one side and you just push it in with a pick or anything, you will hear it click into place. It's said and done. Your fork is put back together properly the way you need to. Now, I've already got the suspension technology shocks in there. I did not torque the damper rod, like I said. That's coming up next, because right after I torque this down, I will then put the fluids in here, all right, pump this a couple times, and then close this off, put it back on the bike. She's a done deal. All right, so let me go ahead and torque this stuff down. And clean your area. All right, you're gonna clean again afterwards, but the only thing that's left now, which is probably the hardest part of it all, is pushing down on your fork here, pushing down on this, simultaneously lifting up, so that way you can start threading your fork cap back on. All right, so like I said, push, and if you got a vise, put your vise on here while you're doing it. If not, if you got a press like Doc Harley has, probably be even better. Put this on the press, start pressing this down while you're holding it up, and you can start screwing it in there. All right, I'll be back right after this. All right, as you can see, it's all back put together with no problem. All right, just make sure once you put the cap back in the tube, you tighten it. All right, torque specs about 22 to 59 foot-pounds for this one. Like I said before, make sure you check your shop manual for your spec settings, okay? Now, I'm just gonna throw it back onto the bike and do the exact same thing to the left fork. And once that's done, put the wheel and fender back on with everything on there. I'm not going to show that because guess what? It's the same thing I already showed you. When I took it off, all you're doing is everything back in reverse and putting it back on. And if you want to, if you think I should do it, I'm not going to show you, but just put the clip on rewind, all right, and look at it backwards. It's going to be the same thing, all right, just in reverse. All right, so I'm going to put it back on, do the other one, and finish up the job and take it for a test ride, and let's see if I don't kill myself. How about that? If you got any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and put them down in the comment section below. If you'd like to see more of this type of videos on my channel, let me know as well. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and like I already said, comment down below. Let me know if you want to see some other things coming up, all right? So that's all I have for today. Like I said, I'm not going to show you the rest. That's all I have for today. And until next time, enjoy your ride.